Hi there, boys and girls. I am so happy that you have come back to visit with Aunt Vicky. Most of you are out of school now for the whole summer. I hope you have lots of fun, but remember, stay safe. Here's a little something that Aunt Vicky found at a flea market across the way. And it's a little lighthouse. And let's see. Oh, I see it blink off and on. It also plays music. Isn't that beautiful? And there's a tiny little cottage. There's a little sailboat out on the river. Isn't it beautiful? Well, Aunt Vicky loves to go to little flea markets and find all kinds of tiny little treasures like this. And I hope that you check out flea markets this summer. They're lots of fun, boys and girls. Now then, well, Aunt Vicky has a new poem for you. And this poem is a hint to what the new character that I'm going to introduce you today in Cuddles and Spuddles will be. I'm going to see if you can guess it after I've read the poem to you. So let's get started. And here we go. Aunt Vicky's magical hat box. Aunt Vicky's magical teapot. And inside, all the wonderful stories for boys and girls all around the big, big world. Now then, here we go. And remember, try to guess from the poem who the new character will be in the story. The title of the new poem is Wise Old Owl. Once upon a time, up high in a big oak tree, lived a very wise old owl, as wise as could be. He could see near and far from his perch, as upon it he did for his food wisely search. By the light of the moon and stars in the sky, every night he sat way up ever so high. He perched so perfectly way out of sight, as he called to all below, woo, woo, and nighty-night. Now, boys and girls, if you guessed the new character in the story today will be an owl, you guessed right. So, let's get started. Cuddles and Spuddles meet wiser. The morning was a cheerful morning on Leafy Farm. Mr. Leafy was planting a spring crop, and Mrs. Leafy was planting her yearly spring garden. Winter was over, and the days were now filled with sunshine. Spring flowers had bloomed out, and the trees were full of birds, singing while tiny, colorful butterflies danced about. Cap the sheepdog enjoyed the warmth of the new season, and lay under a big oak tree near the barn, keeping a watchful eye on the farm animals, as he sleepily dozed off and on, swishing his long, shaggy tail back and forth. The kittens were playing along beside Mrs. Leafy, as she planted and hummed softly to herself. Soon Cuddles and Spuddles tired of playing in the garden, and decided to go and find Cap. Now, during the winter months, Cap had grown very fond of the kittens, and the kittens had also grown very fond of Cap, too. Soon, Cuddles and Spuddles found Cap napping under the big oak tree, and Spuddles reminded Cuddles to watch out for the swishing of Cap's tail. Remembering her first encounter with Cap's tail swishing that had accidentally swatted her and sent her flying through the air and landing on top of Cap's head, Cuddles thought it was best to walk way out around it. She started climbing up the tree, and Spuddles asked her what she was doing. "Oh," said Cuddles to Spuddles, "I just want to see what's up there in those leaves." "Okay," said Spuddles, and he quickly raced up the tree with her. They sat about halfway up on the big oak tree, and could see all around Leafy Farm. The kittens curled up on a large branch and watched birds fly in and out of the nest they had built in among the leaves, and they saw squirrels race up and down with food for the baby squirrels. Now, Cuddles and Spuddles enjoyed sitting up high and being able to see so many things. They could even see Mr. Leafy on his tractor and Mrs. Leafy working in her garden. The kittens stayed up in the tree all day long, playing and jumping from one branch to another, and they even played hide and seek among the big oak tree leaves. The evening sun was low now in the sky, but Cuddles and Spuddles had discovered that way up near the top of the tree was a large hole in one of the branches, and it was filled with soft pieces of straw and hay. The kittens climbed into the bed of straw and hay and enjoyed laying in it so much that they soon fell asleep. Mr. and Mrs. Leafy had stopped working for the day, and the evening sun was now gone, and a soft, gentle breeze blew through the big oak tree. The Leafys had eaten supper, and so had Cap. As usual, Mr. and Mrs. Leafy sat in their rocking chairs. Mr. Leafy had his pipe and was reading his newspaper. Mrs. Leafy was sewing with her needle and thread a very bright-colored quilt to put on their bed for the new spring season. Cap lay on the big round rug near their feet. The kittens were still up in the top of the tree, fast asleep. Mrs. Leafy asked Mr. Leafy if he had seen the kittens that evening. Mr. Leafy replied, "I have not seen Cuddles or Spuddles all day. I thought they were with you in the garden, my dear." She told Mr. Leafy that the kittens had played in the garden, but that was early this morning. And when she had come in to fix lunch, Cuddles and Spuddles were not any longer in the garden. "Well," said Mr. Leafy, "I wouldn't worry. I'm sure they will be scratching on the back door before we go up to bed. And no doubt they are going to be very hungry. After all, they had missed eating lunch." "You're right," said Mrs. Leafy. "I am sure they will be home soon." Mrs. Leafy had baked 2 small fish and refilled their milk bowls for them too. Betsy the milk cow always gave the sweetest tasting milk, and she was a very good milk cow. Betsy lived in the barn with all the other wonderful animals, and she always mooed hello to Cuddles and Spuddles when they came in to play in the hayloft. Cap had been listening to Mr. and Mrs. Leafy talk. He decided he better go out and take a look around for the kittens. After all, the twin kittens were very well, but he knew they could get into mischief if he didn't keep a good watch on them both. Cap got up and went to the door, and Mr. Leafy got up out of his comfy rocking chair and opened the door for him. Cap figured the kittens were most likely around the barn somewhere, because it was Cuddles and Spuddles' favorite place to play. The hayloft was perfect for 2 little kittens to play in, and during the winter months it was also a warm place for the kittens to play. Now as Cap wandered toward the barn, he heard a loud, noisy "whoo, whoo" flying overhead, and as he looked up, he saw old Wiser, the barn owl, and he hollered up at him. "Hey, Wiser," called Cap, "where you been? I haven't seen you all winter." Old Wiser flew down and perched beside Cap as the dog stopped for a chat with him. "Well," said old Wiser, "I have been down south to visit and stayed there waiting for the weather to get warmer." "But," said Cap to Wiser, "we live in Tennessee, and this is the South." "Well, now," said old Wiser, "Tennessee is the South, all right, but I went even farther south." "And that," said Wiser, "I went all the way to the ocean." "Wow," said Cap, "you sure do have a lot of adventures." "Yep," said old Wiser, "I sure do, my friend." And then he asked Cap, "What are you doing out so late?" Cap told Wiser about the new twin kittens who had came while he was away, and that they now lived on the farm too, and that he was out trying to find them. Thought Wiser. Now he knew kittens, and he had seen plenty of them during his life. And Tom Cat, that lived over on the next farm from the Leafys, was a very good friend of his. So Wiser had learned a lot about cats and kittens from Tom Tom Cat. Old Wiser told Cap, "Follow me." Up into the sky flew the owl, and Cap chased after him from the ground below. When Wiser got to the big oak tree, he flew straight to the top and landed on the branch with the hole in it that was stuffed with straw and hay. Sure enough, he saw the kittens sleeping soundly. "See anything up there, Wiser?" asked Cap from below. "I found them," called old Wiser back, "and they are sound asleep." "Well, wake them up," called Cap, "because I need to get them back to Mr. and Mrs. Leafy." "Okay," shouted back Wiser, and then he made a loud, noisy "woo, woo," and startled the kittens right out of their sleep. As they opened their eyes, it was shocking, to say the least, to find two large round eyes staring right back at them. The kittens jumped up and began clinging tightly to each other. "What is it?" asked Cuddles in a trembling meow. "I don't know," replied Spuddles in a meow that trembled even more than Cuddles' meow. Old Wiser looked at the kittens and said, "I'm an owl, and you two are sitting in my nest. So get out of here." Cuddles and Spuddles raced out of that tree as fast as their little paws could carry them. When they landed on the ground below, there sat Cap. The kittens ran to Cap and began meowing and telling him, "There is something up there in that tree, and it's scary. Help us, Cap." "Meow, the kittens, help us." Cap barked for the kittens to hush and calm down, as old Wiser flew down chuckling and sat on the ground in front of them. "Thanks for the help, Wiser," said Cap. "I couldn't have found them without you." "Oh, it's okay," said Wiser, and he began chuckling and laughing again. Cuddles and Spuddles now sat with a very curious and confused look on their faces. Cap introduced the twin kittens to old Wiser, and they soon realized Cap and the owl were good friends. Now Cuddles and Spuddles began to calm down and smiled at Wiser, and they thought to themselves what a very unusual thing an owl was, and they stared at old Wiser with his big, big round eyes. Cap thanked Wiser once more for his help. Wiser told Cap he was welcome, and then he asked Cuddles and Spuddles, "Come back to see me and visit with me." They meowed back happily to the owl and said they would come and visit him soon. Cap and the kittens now raced toward the cottage farmhouse, and Wiser flew high up into the starry night sky with its glowing silvery white full moon. Mrs. Leafy was just turning off the lights when she heard a noise at the back kitchen door. She opened it, and as she did, Cuddles and Spuddles went racing by, and Cap followed in behind them. Mrs. Leafy said in a cheerful voice, "Well, I am happy to see you are safely home, Cuddles and Spuddles." As Mrs. Leafy turned to go up the stairs for bed, she patted Cap gently on the head and said, "Good job, Cap." Cap smiled as he went into the sitting area and curled up on the soft, thick rug, and he was happy to know Mrs. Leafy was proud of him. The little twin kittens enjoyed their supper of fish and milk, and then went into the sitting area to join Cap for the night. They climbed into their own bed inside the box crate and snuggled down on top of their pretty homemade quilt. Cap was fast asleep and snored a bit and swished his tail back and forth every now and then, as he always did when he slept. Cuddles and Spuddles asked each other, "Well, what do you think of old Wiser the Owl?" The only thing they knew to reply to that was, "We have never seen an owl before," so they just really didn't know what to think. Slowly the kittens closed their eyes, and as they drifted off to sleep, somewhere off in the distance, they could hear old Wiser. Softly the owl called to the farm below, "Ooh, ooh, night Nighty night. Oh, boys and girls, I hope that you are really enjoying Aunt Vicky's poems and stories, and I'm really happy that you come to see me and to visit with me. But we've come to the end of another story time, and I want to thank you for visiting, though. Really happy that you came. And I'm going to see you soon with another poem and a grand story of the adventures of Cuddles and Spuddles. And if you listened really closely, you may be surprised, or you may already know who the next new character in the Cuddles and Spuddles adventures will be. So, twinkle twinkle, boys and girls, and a sweet nighty night from Aunt Vicky. Goodbye, come back to see me.